Let me just interrupt you just for a moment, Pete. Stay with us. Michigan, on your screen right now. This is a very big call that we are now ready to make. NBC News Decision Desk projecting the winner of Michigan, Biden. Vice President Biden with 49.8% of the vote to 48.6% for President Trump. Again, that is a key call that we've been waiting hours and hours for since last night. Kristen Welker's been talking about the blue wall. We've all been talking about it. We've been talking about Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Hallie Jackson at the White House. We now have Wisconsin blue on our map. We have Michigan blue on our map. That makes it significantly harder for the president.
I'm juggling a lot here.
Hallie, can you hear Kate?
Oh, Kate, hi. Thanks so much. We're just dealing with some tech stuff here on the White House North Lawn. It has been quite the afternoon, as you can imagine, quite the last really 24 hours for President Trump here. Listen, here's where the race is sort of set up to go from here. The president's path to victory, the biggest battlegrounds, right? We now, a day after the election, we are not talking about things like we're still talking about the battleground states, but the battlegrounds really are the courtrooms in these states. We are about to hear in the next, I'm looking at my watch here at the clock, 4:26. In the next couple of minutes, we are set to here at 4:30 in Philadelphia from some of the president's top surrogates. We have not heard from President Trump yet today on camera, though we have heard from him on Twitter. But his son, Eric Trump, who is a key campaign advisor and surrogate, along with Laura Trump, also a key campaign member, Corey Lewandowski, Pam Bondi, the president's attorney, Rudy Giuliani. They will be in the Philadelphia area. Why? They're talking about these legal challenges that the president is mounting. I got to tell you, Kate, we knew this was coming, right? The reporting all along in the last several weeks has been that the president, if this looked to be on a knife's edge, as this race is now, would be pushing forward with legal challenges. There are some, according to the RNC, some 500 volunteer lawyers, firms ready to be mounting these legal challenges just in Pennsylvania alone on the president's behalf. So the fight now is in the courtroom as part of the president's, what the campaign sees as path to victory. They're still looking, of course, at some of the electoral college map. You were talking with Pete about the legal piece of it. On the political piece, they're looking at states like Pennsylvania. I have to tell you, their confidence level there is very high based on the numbers that they are seeing coming in. They are thinking that this is going to be a definitive win for President Trump based on where the numbers were in 2016 versus what they're seeing now in 2020. You can see where we are sort of with the overall electoral map here, 253, 214, and the popular vote, former Vice President Joe Biden ahead of President Trump there. And I'm looking at Pennsylvania, too early to call based on our count. But again, the campaign confident. They are also predicting that as early as Friday, it would be clear what's happening in Arizona, another race that is too early to call. One of the campaign senior advisors is telling reporters that they believe by the end of the week, it will become clear that President Trump will have enough of votes that aren't counted yet in Arizona to be getting over the finish line there. Again, to be clear, the votes have not come in yet. The ballots have not been counted. And there is a dichotomy here, Kate, because even as the president's campaign is talking about how these uncounted ballots, the ballots that are still outstanding, could turn the tide in the president's favor, the president himself is insisting that those outstanding ballots should be not counted at all, that there's something inherently wrong with them by virtue of the fact that they have not been counted yet. That is an incorrect assertion. That is an assertion that is not based in fact, although the president continues to insist that ballots he claims on Twitter are magically disappearing. He says that there are these surprise ballot dumps. There are no ballots that are being surprisingly dumped or that are disappearing or that are being found in favor of Joe Biden. Ballots are being counted, Kate, legitimately and legally, as happens in an election.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.